Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
Alabama wasted no time disposing of Duke this past Saturday in Durham. By the end of the first quarter, it was 28-0. Alabama's offense racked up over 600 yards of total offense and close to 30 first downs. The Tide did not convert a third down until the second half, though. That's because they never had a third down to convert in the first half. They were simply awesome on offense. And with that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. Pepsi Cola is what we're enjoying tonight. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. And Rodney, we get started tonight by talking about the Top 10 Showdown in Fayetteville this coming weekend. Bama will put their #1 ranking up against undefeated Arkansas. And when you think about the Hogs and Coach Bobby Petrino, you think offense. Quarterback Ryan Mallett currently leads the conference in total offense. And they can produce points this year when it matters. Like at Georgia on Saturday, after the Dogs rallied from 14 down to tie, Mallett and Greg Childs put a stake right through their heart. Arkansas is a team on a mission.
It's going to be very challenging to execute what we do, but they do have lots of weapons, and I think everybody's going to have to do a really good job of executing for us to be able to slow them down. And, it's going to be critical for our entire team to contribute in terms of how we control the ball.
All right, Rodney, everybody knew when Bobby Petrino took the Arkansas job that he wanted to build an offense like the one he has this year. It's finally mature. Of course, he got a break when Michigan hired Rich Rodriguez. That caused Ryan Mallett, who was very happy at Michigan, to transfer to Arkansas, so he had his quarterback. Now, after a few years in his third season, he's got the skill players to go with him. The offensive line is mature, and Mallett's coming off a nearly 400-yard performance against Georgia. This is a team that is peaking offensively, and they've got a lot of weapons.
Yep, and the question is, how do you defend them? And first of all, I thought Nick Saban said it perfectly yesterday. It's a complete team effort. The best way to defend Ryan Mallett, keep him on the bench. Control the football, run the ball like Alabama does so well, control it, score touchdowns, and you're in pretty good shape to start with. And, another thing, if you remember last year, Alabama from the get-go, Eric Anders made the big hit on Mallett on his first pass attempt, pressured him. They continued to keep pressure on him. By the third quarter, he had receivers open at times, but he was so rattled and moving around so much. Gary had been under so much pressure that he couldn't find anybody. He couldn't hit them. And so I think that's obviously the best two ways to get it done.
But Lorenzo Washington's gone. Anders gone. Dedrick's gone. Cody's gone. The Tide's not getting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks this year.
No, they're not. And, again, we'll see what happens. Look, this past week against Duke, Marcel Darius made his return. Courtney Upshaw, as we know, has not been completely healthy. Let's see what happens there. And I think, we may see some different things this week.
Of course, I've talked about all the good things about Arkansas's offense because there are plenty of them, but they have struggled to run the football this year. And usually, one-dimensional teams don't do very well against the Tide defense.
Well, and that's the thing. Their great running back, Dennis Johnson, is out, has been injured, won't play, or hasn't played, and don't expect him to in this game. And, when you look at them, they have struggled to run the ball, and that's one thing that Alabama can't allow them to do is find their running game. If you remember against Duke, Duke had some success running against Alabama, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes against Arkansas. But Alabama has got to stop them from running the football.
The Blue Devils did run the ball. The good news in that game was in the second half, the defense was a lot saltier than it was in the first half, particularly that second quarter when Duke got all of its 17 points. Well, from an Alabama perspective, the Crimson Tide got back a key part of its offense this past weekend, and Mark Ingram did not disappoint. Rodney, this is the first play of the game. 48 yards. He just rips past people. He had over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns on 9 carries. I mean, this guy hasn't missed a beat since the national championship.
Well, Nick Saban said that actually after his injury, Nick Saban said that he had been practicing better than he had performed all last season when he won the Heisman Trophy. And he kind of showed that again. We know that Duke is obviously not a very good defensive football team, but you could tell that Mark Ingram was certainly on top of the game when he had that, 16, 17-yard touchdown run, put an incredible move on the defender, and he looked like the old Mark Ingram. Here's the play right here.
Yeah, and this is right there, got him. And if you want to put a positive spin on his injury, He's probably hungrier because he sat out those 2 games. Plus, he just had 9 carries. I mean, he is going to be amped up and ready to go against the Hogs.
Yeah, and remember last year, Gary, and Arkansas has talked about this.
They shut him down.
Yeah, and they've come out and said, hey, we shut him down last year. If you remember, the only really, I don't say the only good run because I don't remember every run, but I know the big run was Trent Richardson breaking 5-6 tackles.
Yeah.
They gave Alabama the 7-0 lead. But Alabama did not run the ball effectively last year.
They did not. Arkansas did a very good job. But again, I think Ingram is the kind of player, a lot like Emmitt Smith.
Yep.
And Barry Sanders, he kind of files that information away. He'll be thinking about that this weekend. Well, we talked about the Bama defense. It got a shot in the arm this past weekend as well. 57, Marcel Darius was back in. This was early in the game. He just shot the gap and just blew the guy away. But he did look a little rusty. Even though, unlike Ingram, he wasn't coming off an injury, he still hadn't played since last season. One time he had a point-blank sack on the quarterback and let him get away. But no doubt about it, he is a guy that adds a lot to Alabama's defense. And following the game, he talked publicly for the first time about his NCAA mandated suspension.
Stuff happens, you know. I make mistakes, and just time to move on. Just worry about the next game, and then I serve my suspension. You know, I'm not just back here happy to be with the team.
And coming up later on in the program, we'll discuss what the NFL Players Association is now requiring agents to do and get Nick Saban's thoughts on that matter. Also, still to come on TITV tonight, we'll make our predictions about this weekend's game. Who do we think will come out on top? This is an interesting one this week. Plus, we'll be getting your opinions on this game and more subjects when we take phone calls later on. 205-348-9882 is the number, or you can email us at the address on your screen. But up next, we'll get the view from the other sideline. What is Coach Petrino saying about the Crimson Tide? Stay tuned. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV presented by Buffalo Rock. Let's check our Tide Notes segment, courtesy of John Huddleston. Luther Davis, okay to go. You know, he's been dealing with an ankle and a sprained knee, but was at practice yesterday. Looked like he was moving a lot better today. He should be ready to go on Saturday. Arkansas, I tell you what, other teams have tried this. They're planning a red out. Everybody's going to wear red against the Tide. And, of course, it's been announced that Alabama versus Florida on October 2nd, prime time on CBS at 7 p.m. And now it's time to talk to you about one of my favorite places to eat in Tuscaloosa, Nuke's Express Cafe, 205 University Boulevard East, just up from the University of Alabama campus. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Try their oven-toasted sandwich, a California-style pizza, a hand-tossed salad, or any of their other menu items because they're all made with fresh ingredients. They've got a beer and wine menu. They'll take care of you dessert-wise, too, with a great menu of cakes, brownies, and Rice Krispie treats. Call 758-2455 with all your catering needs. When you show up at Nuke's, tell Joe and the folks that Gary Harris sent you, and you'll be glad that you went by, and you'll go again. I promise you that. Well, time now to get the view from the other sideline. Arkansas head coach Bobby Petrino knows what his team is up against, but he's not planning to change anything that Arkansas does to get ready for this big game.
As a football team, I really believe this, that we don't need to go out and do anything extraordinary to win the game. We need to go out and play Razorback football, and we'll have an opportunity to win the game. And that's kind of what our theme will be for the week. But we know they're a very, very good football team. They're very good on offense. They're very physical. They can run it and throw it. And defensively, they're very good. So we got a challenge ahead of us, but we're really looking forward to it.
Well, up next, Nick Saban readdresses the agent issue and talks about the latest move by the NFL Players Association. Also ahead, your phone calls and emails. Go ahead and give us a ring to get through now so that we can talk to you. 205-348-9882. You're watching Tider Insider TV, and we're coming back right after these messages from some of our great sponsors.